You still have their names on your tongue. You acknowledge them, you let them know that they still matter. And that is what
Coco nyamili, nyamili, Coco nyamili, nyamili, Coco nyamili, nyamili, Coco nyamili, nyamili, Ibole, Igbo bono, ndamamihe, Ibole, Igbo bono, ndamamihe, ebulanyelu, anamabara na ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke, anamabara no n'ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke. Igbo bụ n'ndike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike, ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike. Koko nyamini, nyamini, koko nyamini. Dewo. Good morning. Dibia dewo na-ekelekwa m unu ebe ọbụla n'ụlọ ọ bụ nnọọ ihe ọma ga-eso unu ọnụ ọfịa ọnụ ụzọ ka ọ dịrị unu mma ka nọ. I am so happy to be here today. Such a sunny day in Atlanta, Georgia. And I don't know where you are, wherever you are, I hope you're experiencing the same delightful weather that we have here. I feel really good about living, and I hope you do too. What a privilege. What a privilege. You know what? I want to start by just reminding everybody how important it is to take the time and go and visit people. Go and see people that you haven't seen in a while. I did that yesterday, and I've got to tell you, that was exciting. You know, there's a tendency sometimes for us to just sit at home, you know, and we get comfortable in our homes, and then we don't visit people. And yesterday I did that, and I'm telling you, I feel great. I feel great. Thank you, Akachi. Dewo to you. Ukuna go chukwu. Say imerage noto hokano. Ka ibobolo no bikoto no ma. Yes, I went and visited my friend yesterday. You know, I just made a decision that it was time for me to go beyond just calling people. You know, we have a tendency to do that. And then when all you do is call people, then when something happens to them, then we start to cry. Oh my God, this person is gone, that person is gone. But it shouldn't be that way. We should take the time and visit other people. And that is exactly what I did yesterday. And I'm doing it again today. I kind of want my weekends to be times, not just to sit and curl up with a book. You can do that too, but also a time to go and see good people, good friends. Today, I'm going to go and visit my brother, Yudi. And I haven't been to see him in a little while. So I'm excited to go and do that. And yesterday I went and saw Dr. Nabantu. She cooked a good meal. My God, I ate more than I was supposed to eat, but it was quite delightful. So anyway, welcome to all of you. And let me bring my co-host, Dibia Yudi.
Okay, Dibia, Yagazie to you and your family. I'm so excited that you're coming to visit. We haven't seen each other, at least in my place, in a while. I always come to your house. So,
yes.
Today you're coming to mine. My wife, believe it or not, she's going out to go get some salmon. She's going to prepare some Liberian dish. So eat up when you get here.
So we'll just hurry through this program.
Hurry up. Let's go.
I'm certainly ready. I am ready. Yeah. It is so warm out here. And I was just telling before you came in, I was just letting everybody know how important it is to go and visit. You know, visit. Don't wait till the person passes away. You know, I called a friend of mine, and I'm going to take her out to lunch on Thursday. And yesterday I went to Dr. Nabantu's. Oh my God, she cooked up a storm.
Soul food galore.
Yes. So it's just a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And let me add Dibia Simona. Hey,
Hey,
how are you?
very good.
Good to
All
see you.
right.
We were just before you came in, we were just talking about the fact that it was important for us to go and visit people. You know, don't just get stuck in the house. Don't wait till people die. You know.
By the way,
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
jealous of Dr. Simona because she posted on Facebook she was at the Piston game or something like that.
Oh no, I saw that. I said I'm jealous.
Why can't it be me?
Well, we were honoring. We were
you
invited.
forgot you have a friend in me. You have a friend in me.
Yeah,
When you
a
call
couple of
me to come
tickets
and go to
allowed me in
Piston
Detroit.
again, I'm done with
Help
you.
me win.
I am done with you. Well, that's wonderful. Guys, it is wonderful to see all of you. And I just want us to today we want to start with offering a very special prayer before we even get into it. There's a young man that was killed in Florida, 2-year-old boy who was eaten by an alligator.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Yeah. Well, the father killed the mother and snatched the little boy, and
Wow.
they're not sure how he got into the lake with the alligator, but they saw the alligator coming out with something in his mouth, and they shot him, and it was the little boy.
Oh God.
So you can imagine the family, the agony. It's one thing to lose a child, but to lose a child in that way, that is devastating. You know, it's just
terrible.
sad. But so we're gonna offer that family prayer. I mean, you don't know how to start. How do you start with that? You know, how do you even comfort anybody whose child was eaten by an alligator? I mean, where do you start? You know, all you can do is pray that they can, because it's an eternal, if I may use that expression, memory, something they can't erase. You just can't erase that. You just can't erase that. So it's going to take a lot of prayer and strength. Strength is the greatest thing that is going to see them through this one. And then for you to lose your daughter, on top of that, then an alligator ate your grandson. Can you imagine those grandparents?
Yeah.
Lord, it's too much. It's too much. But anyway,
there's pain all over the world, and we have to
pain.
be as spiritual as we possibly can to deal with this onslaught of mayhem, both in Africa, here in the United States, and all over the world, Ukraine, and all that. The world needs prayer, but prayer is not enough. We are also responsible for our conduct, so we have to really look inward to be able to deal with this craziness all around us. It's really up to us. It's not up to Chineke. It's up to us.
No, it's not. And then one of the greatest tragedies right now that people are not paying attention to is the climate change. Is devastating countries. It's devastating Nigeria, as you all know. 2.5 million people were displaced due to flooding.
Rain.
Then you have Syria. Syria is literally gone. With no government or anything, so they can't deal with such a thing. You see what I'm saying? So it is absolutely a tragedy that they're experiencing right now. So all over the world. So you're right. We need to pray for everyone. And gosh, it's just well. Anyway, I want to welcome you to another episode of Live. This is still the month of Amadioha. It's a month for you to bring out the greatness in you, confidence. Whatever it is, you can overcome it. This is the month for you to allow yourself to be used by Chineke. If you say Monachiso, that means that power is working with you. This is it. This is a month that you have, as a matter of fact, an obligation to allow Chineke to work through you. Let me remind all of you, doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter how many people are here today, where 2 or more people are gathered, Chineke is there. Additionally, so are all the ancestors, 10,000, 1 million of them, they are right here. When they become ancestors, the only work they have to do is to protect you. So they're here. They're here. Every chair in this room If you look at the chairs in the room where you are, all those chairs are filled with ancestors just listening, just watching over you. So be grateful for that. For those of us who don't understand, you're never alone. We're never alone in this world. You know, most of our ancestors were powerful, and they did exceptional things, and all of that is still part of our. You know, if we could just claim it, it's all in the resources of our minds. You know, we just need to claim them, receive them, and accept them. So, you know, in African Ancestral Spiritual Healing, we are striving to tap into those powers, the achievements of our ancestors, that we can continue and add to ours. It's so important that we understand that we're not doing anybody a favor, but ourselves a favor. If you discount the relevance of your ancestors, when we do that, we're discounting who we are, because that's who we are, who they were. If we take what they have, what they had, what they did, and we add to our own, then we just grow even more. And then our descendants, the same thing, will add what we've done. You know, so it's to our advantage that we continue to acknowledge them. Never mind what people tell you. I mean, quite frankly, when people are ignorant, they don't see beyond what they've been taught. So we're kind of letting everybody know that there's so much more to who we are. Last week, if you remember correctly, day one of the Ancestral Spiritual Healing, we spoke about Ijiko, connecting, understanding who our ancestors were. I recommend that if you did not see it, see the last episode of ChiismLive, where we talked in details about what it means to Ijiko. And I remind you, it's good to learn the language, because that's what we're going to be sharing with you. Ijiko, connecting, IJKO, Ijiko, to connect, to understand who they are. Do your research, and also go to the video last episode. Today, however, is day 2. Ige Nti, listening. To listen means to respect. When you listen, when you get quiet, you're respecting your ancestors because you're paying attention to their presence. When you're doing the healing work, this one is called Ige Nti, IJENTI, listening. There are so many things attached to the word Ige Nti. Ige Nti is a powerful word. Listen. Ige Nti aleganu kito bandanda. We talk about that all the time. When you listen inwardly, when you listen closely to the ground, you hear the footsteps of the ants. That's to tell you that once you're listening, you hear things that ordinarily you would not hear. There's one African proverb that I want to share today. Many of you may have heard it, but it says, open your ears to the ancestors and you will understand the language of the spirits. If you don't believe in your ancestors, if you don't listen to them, if you're talking about the spirits, you're wasting your time and you're telling a lie, because they tell you, they give you the language of the spirits. So you need to listen. The important thing to know is that in silence, you allow the opportunity to hear things that most people don't hear because we are so busy talking, trying to solve every problem ourselves. But we don't stop to hear the answers. Sometimes the answers are just there. If you listen. Answers may be visual. The answer to your problem may be visual, or it may be quiet. It may be a whisper. Words that can help you move through your challenges if you will pay attention. And that is what happens when we tap into our ancestral energies. So for the second part, Ige Nti, as I recommended last time, sit on the floor. Many of you who meditate, it's nothing different from meditation in terms of how you get quiet. You sit on the floor, and it's even better if you can do it. For those of you who have the opportunity you have good weather, and you have grass in your yard. Mine, I'm still putting my grass in. Or you can go where there's grass. quietly. A park is a very beautiful place. If you have a nice park around you, you can go there and sit on Mother Earth. Just sit where it's quiet. You can do it in your house, but you can also do it where it's quiet. The important thing is don't be where if you're going to do it outside, don't be where people are playing basketball or playing, there's too much talking. Do it at a time where there's hardly anybody around. If you choose to do it outdoors, because you're supposed to find some peace. You're supposed to be quiet. Let me remind you that whatever your mind believes in, oftentimes your body reacts to. Anything you believe in, some of you have heard about placebo effect. People think it's that they gave you something wrong, something that has no medicinal value, but because you believe that it does, it works. Anything you believe in becomes a reality. If you believe and understand and allow the ancestors to come, they will become a reality to you because they are there. They are there. If you don't believe that any thought, it wouldn't come to be. You just pass it, you just poo-poo it away, if I may use that expression. Thoughts that incorporate action becomes reality. What is the action we're talking about here? Getting quiet and listening. Pay attention so you hear. In this meditation exercise, you have to visualize yourself sitting in a space, just you. Now you can invite your friend or your family member if they'll be agreeable to be quiet at that moment. But I always recommend that this is your quiet time with the ancestors. This is your time. And then you invite the ancestors in. As you're sitting, invite them. Not just you're just there meditating on your own. This time you're meditating, yes, but you are inviting the ancestors to enter. Don't doubt that they can hear you. Don't doubt they can hear you, because they can. Remember, as I said earlier, if you believe they can, you will hear them. But your belief system is very, very important to this. When you're truly ready, if you don't believe it, then you're not going to hear anything. But when you're truly ready, you will learn how to hear them. And how to hear them is to, first of all, believe that they are there and be quiet. They have so much to share with us. Valuable legends, messages, and they're there to assist us. But we've got to believe it. So in your quiet moment, initiate that connection. Gente, nuzia. Accept their presence. Accept their presence, first and foremost. Otherwise, they're not there. You have to accept them and get quiet. Develop interaction with them. This is very valuable because it is part of our restorative procedure. Develop interaction. Listen to them. Hear them. And sometimes it's important if you can give them something. If you can take with you some offering. When we pour libations, we use water. When we also do when we break kola nut, we are connecting with the ancestors. When you're sitting in your space, bring something. You can actually bring a bowl of fruit to sit in front of you. That's what you offer. As a matter of fact, Dibia Yudi can tell you, like in my homeland, before you eat, you have to fix a plate. And Yudi, is that not true?
Yeah, you and the ancestors.
Yes. Yes. You have to
even eat anything.
Yes, you have to set something out for the ancestors. And then what we say ndi chebiadi. Then you ask the ancestors to eat first before you eat. But you always welcome them in with something. So as you're doing your healing, ancestral healing, make sure you have some kind of food, some kind of something, fruit, whatever, even if it's water, anything that you can say to the ancestors, welcome, and here is my offering to you. So when they enter, they become one with you. They eat what it is that you may not see them eating, of course, but again, like I said, what you believe in becomes a reality. To connect with the healing channel, because this is you're now channeling. There's a channel now to the ancestors. You must engage in deep listening. Gente. That's what this is saying. Gente, deep listening. Okay, that allows you the opportunity and the ability to hear as they try to communicate with you. You know, the other thing is my father did this one with me, scared the heck out of me, but it worked because he invited me to his space, and this room, this was in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and the place was pitch black, and he just told me to be quiet, and I closed my eyes. He said, "Be quiet and listen." And then after a while, he asked me to open my eyes, and I did, and I saw these images, beautifully well-lit images. And, you know, initially I couldn't understand it. I thought my eyes were playing games with me, but he said, no, they're not. This is what you're seeing is what you believe, and what you believe is that they're ancestors. That's why I invited you here, to see your ancestors. And that's who, you know, and the interesting thing is that these were figures moving. It wasn't like, you know, if you're in the dark for a while, you start seeing things, but they dissipate. But this didn't. It was just moving around, and I could really feel it. I could feel the presence. So yes, they do come. They do come and sit with you. And so for this particular exercise, all you're doing is inviting them into your space. The first thing is we talked about Ige, right? To communicate with them. Now the next thing is to hear them. But you can't communicate with them until you've done a little research. You know who they are, know a little background of them. If they have a language that you need to know that language and use that language in your space as you are communicating. But this time, when you begin the second part of the healing process, the key is to hear them. The key is to hear them, and they hear you. You share what it is, your thoughts, what it is you have problems with, what you're concerned about. I have to share this. I don't know if my daughter is watching. She and I did the healing session, and she had to go and make a presentation, and I had to remind her, you know, after you do the healing circle, just remember something. You have thousands of ancestors walking with you into that space. Just remember that even though there are people out there watching you, the biggest armor is behind you. Your ancestors, they're right there. They're speaking through you. So if you believe that your ancestors are powerful, let them speak through you. You speak, and they're speaking to you. They're helping you present your what you're presenting. You're not alone. Don't feel weak. Don't be scared. Nothing like that. You got power behind you. You know, that sort of thing. So the whole idea is when you begin that channel, when you begin to connect, you start feeling powerful. You can pick a day to do this one. It doesn't have to be that same day. That's why it's like 4 days. I give you 4 days. Don't think you have to you have to do everything in one day. Take 1 day to just focus on one aspect of the healing. But like I said, this one is to hear them. First is to connect, to connect with them, and then this one is to hear them. And that is my presentation today. And I would let you know that let's not just talk about it. Actually go and practice it. It is amazing when you practice something as opposed to just hearing it and say, oh, that was nice. Try it. Practice it. Make it a part of your life. Do that once every month. You know, do that once every month. That you know, so sometimes you may need somebody to work with you, but sometimes, for the most part, you can do it. You can do it yourself. All right. So now I'm going to ask my speakers, what are your thoughts on this?
Excellent thought. Again, thank you for the presentation. That was beautiful, and we are so happy to have you, Dr. Simone. Looking beautiful as usual, and I know that you're going to share your infinite wisdom with us today. I can't wait to hear you speak. Always very exciting, especially that voice of yours. Love it. Yes, it's true. Meditation really involves a lot of self-analysis.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, we're having this conversation with one thing in mind. the idea that our ancestors are very relevant in our existence. Your ancestors contain the blueprint of where, or should I say, the footprint of where you've been, where you are today. And if you mix the knowledge in the right proportions, it will determine where you're going.
Yes.
Before I really kind of get into what I'm trying to say, I want our audience to understand that ancestral reverence cuts across all human communities. Europeans, Asians, South American, Incas, Aztecs, it doesn't matter where you come from. Every human community involves itself in ancestral reverence. Very important. If you're Christian and you read the Bible, it's full of ancestors of Hebrew extract. Moses, Abraham, Ruth, Gideon, Joshua, so on and so forth. King David. These ancestors represent something very precious, spiritual in the lives of the people who they came from, or we come from. It is important that we understand this, because sometimes when we talk about ancestors, especially when Africans talk about ancestors, there's this lack of appreciation for what it really means. We don't seem to understand that that is part of our spiritual makeup. As a matter of fact, in the ontology of Chineke in Chiism, ancestral reverence is right at the bottom. There are 8 of them that are directly associated with Chineke. But at the end of it, it is ancestral reverence, okay? Because spiritually speaking, our ancestors understands that there is no halfway bust off between us and Chineke. And they taught us to understand that our relationship with Chineke is direct. From me to Chineke, there is no distance. We don't need a middleman. We don't need anybody to intercede on our behalf when it comes to trying to have a relationship with Chineke. When we're trying to communicate with Chineke, pour our hearts out to Chineke, so that maybe at some point there will be resolutions to our issues or the problems that we're having. Our ancestors understood that this relationship is direct. And if it wasn't for our ancestors, we wouldn't have this knowledge. So it's very important that we understand that ancestral reverence is key to Ige Nti Ganu Ikitiokpa Ndanda. There's a lot of stuff involved in this particular Igbo saying. Ige Nti Ganu Ikitiokpa Ndanda. If you listen closely with your ear to the ground, you will hear footsteps of ants. It's part of your meditation process. If you listen carefully, inwardly, you will hear your ancestors speaking to you. You will tap into the knowledge that your ancestors have had in terms of all the different situations and issues that you face in life. The advices that you get come from somewhere, or it came from somewhere. The knowledge that we know about how to handle certain life's challenges was transmitted from our ancestors to the present. So in this process of medication and self-inflection, we must listen, tap into this knowledge.
Yeah.
Because that is our footprint. It's part of your history. It's part of who you are. Self-analysis. How you react to events. Meditation is an important process when dealing with your environment and events that are both, within your control or events that are beyond your control. By listening, by tapping in, by appreciating your ancestral lineage, you will start finding solutions to some of the issues that you are facing. So for no good. is part of this meditative process. Truth and justice, self-analysis. From you to Chineke, there's no distance. Every solution, or should I say, every problem in this world can be resolved unless it's a natural process that is beyond your control, but it is essential in the continuation of life in this world. I'll give you an example. You can't pray for volcanoes to stop coming. They will come. It's part of the building block of the world. It's part of the process. These things are beyond your control. If you happen to be around a volcanic, an area where there are volcanoes and something happens, don't sit around blaming Chineke or that God didn't answer your prayers or why did this happen to you. No, you're the one that decided to settle right next to a volcano, knowing that that volcano is part of God's plan, part of Chineke's plan. It's part of the building block of this world. Meditation and understanding things like this will go a long way in helping you deal with situations and know exactly where to put the blame or where not to put the blame. If you listen inwardly with your ears to the ground, you will hear footsteps of ants. The footsteps of the ant is or are your ancestors. Appreciate who you are, appreciate your history, appreciate where you come from, understand why you're here. You cannot understand what your purpose is in this world unless you involve yourself once a day, once every whatever, in reflection, meditation. Yeah. Meditation is part of your spiritual growth and allows you to gain positive reinforcement, find solutions to events, allows the doors to open. If you're looking for a job, meditation can allow you to come up with strategies that will help you to pass that job interview and get that job. Meditation also, I said medication. Meditation also allows you.
Medication will do something.
Yeah, it's a spiritual medication, actually. That's what it is. But it allows you to appreciate your fellow human being because meditation allows you or gives you the understanding that Madubuchi Ibeya.
Yeah.
You are like Chineke to your fellow human being because all God's blessings, for the most part, come through somebody. Anything else is a miracle.
That's right.
Miracles are just supposed impossible situations. But most of our problems can be solved simply by meditation, understanding the idea of African spiritual maxim of Biri ka mbiri, live and let live. Meditation allows you the understanding that we are all spiritually connected.
Yes.
God's blessings come through somebody. Listen, if I need $100 to pay my light bill and I don't have it, and I pray to Chineke in the morning, and I go into my obase, and I meditate, and I ask Chineke for $100 one way or another so that I could pay this light bill before my light is cut off. And then I go to Dr. Simona and I ask her, Dibia Simona, please, do you have $100 that you could loan to me so I could pay my light bill so that my family will not be in darkness? Dibia Simona says, well, yes, I'm giving you the $100, but you got to give it back to me. Right there is a spiritual contract. Right there, my issue has been resolved through somebody else. Madubuchibe, Dr. Simona has resolved my issue. And my spiritual contract with Dr. Simona is I have to give that money back. If I give that money back to Dr. Simona when I said I was going to give it, what have I done? I have promoted goodwill. I now have a confidence and somebody who is straight up. You can trust UD. If he tells you he's going to do something, he will do it. And now I appreciate Dr. Simona as somebody that I can depend on, rely on. right there, we have developed a spiritual relationship, a spiritual contract. And it makes me a happier person that I can now claim Dr. Simona as my friend. Were you going to say something? We can't hear you.
Here.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, UD. That is well done. Well done.
That's my business.
I want to give Dr. Simona because we have another. Today's show is an hour, so we have another segment that we're going to go into. That I want to talk to I want Dr. Simone to put her input here. I just want to very quickly remind you, and you know this, how important that our elders used to tell us how important it was to honor our ancestors. We had a game that children play where we all sit around in a circle and they say, "Onye lelanya nazo, mawanyi na abia nazo." Don't look back, don't look back. The ancestors are behind, the spirits are behind you, that sort of thing. And it makes the kids comfortable to think about ancestors. You see what I'm saying? So we need to continue that and teach our children. It's okay. It's okay to commune. Dr. Monet, what your thoughts?
Yes, I would first like to just thank Chineke for allowing us to be here today. And also the ancestors of which we're talking about, all of our ancestors that are leading us, guiding us, giving us all the wisdom, protection, and also healing that they give to us. And also I would like to thank you too, Uncle Yudi and Dibia Yudi, and also Your Excellency, Dibia Uwa. And so I would like to, for all of the spiritual knowledge that you're bringing forth, which is so important to all of us. And with that being said, I would like to say that, our ancestors are always around us. I know in my practice, a lot of times I identify with that person and let them know some of the things that their ancestors may do, just to let them know that they're around. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about listening, but listening is not just listening as far as our ears, but it's paying attention to everything, the environment around us, and how our ancestors are communicating with us. For instance, I'll tell, I may be in a session and someone's ancestor comes forth and tells me, well, when you smell apple pie and there's no apple pie cooking, you know that I'm around. And they'll say, well, my mother or that ancestor cooked apple pies all the time. So I said, well, sometimes you smell apple pies and there's no apple pies cooking. And they'll say, yes, I do. And I'll say, that's your ancestor communicating with you, showing you that they're there. But next is, like we said here, to listen. We have to listen. If our ancestors are giving us clues, if there's certain things that are coming through, let's listen to what our ancestors have to say. Let's get still. Let's get quiet to hear the message that is coming forth, because our ancestors are always trying to give us lessons. But I wanted to ask a question to Your Excellency, Dibia Uwa, and also Uncle Dibia Yudi. I wanted to ask this question because I've had these experiences. I've connected since a young child. I've seen some of my past lives, and me in those past lives. And sometimes those images will come through, or who I was before will come through when I'm doing my work and things like that, or just different instances to give me certain levels of knowledge and things like that. And I was wondering, do we also consider them our ancestors, even though that was us?
You know what? when you experience such a thing, that means you're still on your journey. Because those who have passed on, you could be them, right? Continuing the journey. They came as you now, continue the journey. Okay, so when you have someone like, okay, for instance, we talked about last time when we said that Yudi was my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Yudi was my uncle. Now, if the person had passed away before they hit 80, they're not ancestors. Yes, they're still on that journey. So you may have been somebody in past life who's come back and still continuing that journey. That's the way we look at that part of it.
Oh, okay.
You see,
yeah.
So it tells me that you're still on the journey. Somebody who became you is still on that journey, so you can actually relate to some things pertaining to that past life. Yeah.
So do I reference them as myself, or do I honor them as I don't honor them as an ancestor, because what you were saying is they're incarnated with me.
Yeah, that's
what
right.
it is? Okay.
That's right. Yeah, you thank them for incarnating as you. Okay. Because when a person turns 80, here's another aspect of it. When an ancestor turns 80, they are able to become part of helping you, being your guardian angel, or they may choose to come back, because when they become ancestors, they can choose to do anything. They can be anything. They can be anywhere. They can choose to. That's why, like, my dad passed away at 80. When a child comes and has his mannerisms, it may be that, hey, he just wants to come and continue what he did through this child.
Okay.
So that's another way of looking at it.
That's really, at least as far as Chiism is concerned, and African spiritual habits. It may vary from place to place, but there's a commonality in African spiritual behavior and how we interpret these things, right? And then across all cultures, you can also see these similarities, maybe interpreted differently, but there are similarities. It's sort of like a Honda, a Cadillac, a BMW. They all have one thing in common. They are cars, and they will get you from point A to point B, right? Diversity is divine. So the fact that there are different cars and different trees and different cats and everything else is all part of this cauldron, of goodies, all involved in life. Let me go one step further to what you just said. Yes, okay, Dibia is absolutely correct. As far as spiritual interpretation, is concerned in Chiism, yes, that is absolutely true. Life is about coming and going. Okay, let me say that again. In African spirituality, whether it's Chiism, whether it's Orumila, whatever you have, in core African spirituality, life is about coming and going. It's like a cycle. It just comes, you live, you die. It comes back, you live, you die. Now, there is also good and evil involved here. And when I say good and evil involved here, I'm talking about how you've lived your life while you were here before passing on. It doesn't always hold true, but across all spiritual cultures, if you do good, you get good. If you do bad, you get bad. But that doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to good people. It doesn't mean that good things don't happen to bad people. It's part of this spiritual question that is practically never going to be resolved. It is one of it's knowledge that has to be looked at prospectively, how you see the world, how you see life. People in African spiritual culture, if you do good things happen, you reincarnate, you continue your journey. If there are things that or works that were never finished while you were alive, when you come back, you continue that journey, right? And it passes from one generation to another. Now, let's say you're a terrible person, Adolf Hitler kind of person. You're just a bad person. then there's consequences for those behaviors. And part of those consequences involved what? Reincarnation. But what you reincarnate as might be a cockroach.
Yes.
Yeah, it might be a deer that will be killed by a hunter to feed the living, or a deer that is going to be killed by a lion to feed the lion.
Yes.
You understand what I'm trying to say? The idea of that is, how do I say? Punishment and also a reward for good behavior. It's about rewards. For example, in Christianism, and I'm using Christianism because it's a common spiritual culture that permeates the world right now. Good and evil. You do good, you go to hell. You do well, you go to heaven. Right?
Yeah.
It's a way of behavioral control.
Yeah.
And in our spiritual practices, it is part of this behavioral control that if you do good, you will reincarnate. And if you made it up to the age of 80, you can now stay with the ancestors in the spiritual world, or you can come back, reincarnate, and continue your journey. There are great warriors, people that contributed to their communities and everything, that passed at the age of 50. You look at them physically, or should I say, you look at them and you call them ancestors because they came before you, they did great things, blah, 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 blah. You always ascribe greatness to your ancestors because they contain the very essence of who you are and what you are. So you never look at your ancestors as evil. You always look at them because they are part of your spiritual makeup. It's part of the ontology of creation. So it's always a positive thing. It's part of Chineke. It's always a positive thing. So if you're seeing or experiencing vibes that makes you feel like this is vibe from somebody that came before you, it's a beautiful thing, because the first thing you have to do is look at yourself. You're a beautiful soul. You're a beautiful person. You do good. You consider yourself a beautiful spiritual being. That's
because if that person had done ill, had done something wrong in their past world, they won't come as you. They won't have that opportunity. Come as you. They won't come as you. So you are indeed the reflection of somebody who was a good person, and you're just following, the trend. Somebody asked a question. This was Akacha Zubike, and then we're going to have to go to the next segment. ChiismLive, don't we make a point to only call in Ndiche that we're fond of you? I'll call on Ndiche that didn't like you. It could be problematic. That's right. Well, when I pour libations, I want to pour libations. I don't call out the names of every ancestor. I call the name. And she has a good question.
Very good question. Very good.
I call upon those ancestors that I know that did good things.
Yes.
I'm not going to call the ancestors who were murderers. And then let's understand that anybody who achieves the age of 80, like you explained a little earlier, doesn't necessarily become an ancestor. The ones that we call out, because they may not be accepted in ancestral world. And those are the spirits that are just all over the map, trying to find a place. They can't reincarnate into something positive, right? And they are the ones that harass you. You asked that question earlier. So it's important to know that not everybody who passed away, if you did bad things, like you did say, you come back as a cockroach or something. All right. So there's no guarantee that just because a person, acquired that age, that they are actually an ancestor. It just means that those who have acquired the age of 80 are ancestors, but the ancestral world may not accept them if they have done bad things. They may have to come back again, but this time not as a human
corrected.
But that kind of thing. But if you pour libations, you want to call the names of those good people, not just everybody, not everybody that. And of course, if there's an ancestor that loved you and cared about you, certainly that would be the person that you call, because you are calling energies that you want around you.
Exactly.
So you don't want to call libations and call energies that. So that was a good question that she asked. And
just to add to that, just to have question, which is a very good one. You call the ancestors that you know. They may not even be part of your family.
Yes.
But you call ancestors that you know that did good things.
That's right.
Okay? You're not going to sit there and start calling the ancestor of Adolf Hitler.
No. Certainly. I don't know who's calling who be calling him as a doctor.
No, I'm just saying, Jeffrey Dahmer. So the crux of it all is
Jeffrey Dahmer died early.
Yeah,
he died
you call those people that have positive vibe, those people that did great things, whether they're direct members of your lineage or not, but they're members of your community. For example, I could call on Sojourner Truth, I think that's her name. I could call on Harriet Tubman or Parks or Luther King, whoever, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, all these people that did great things in our community that give us hope, that create a sense of, a feel-good thing or feeling, give us a feel-good feeling or whatever, to do positive things. So we call them positive energy.
That's right. So we need to go to the next segment. Thank you, Dr. Monet. Thank you, Yudi, for the first segment. The second segment these days that we're going to be doing, and this is important because I get a lot of letters, get a lot of texts, positive and otherwise. And I think that some of them we need to talk about them from a perspective of just opening the eyes and ears of some of some individuals. There's none of our responses, are based on malice or in any way designed to disrespect anyone, but instead to help build understanding between people of different religious faiths. This is a letter that I received, and I just kind of wanted to share that right quick, and then we'll just discuss it. Dear Dr. Osimiri, I write this letter to you not to insult you, and I hope you don't take it that way. Now, this is somebody that I know, so I'm not going to call her name. It's a lady, and she lives in Nigeria. She follows me on my Facebook page. And she says, but I was taught that it's important to help people to see the light and embrace God in the traditional sense. And that traditional sense is a Christian. I am a Christian, and I want to share my light with you. I believe that if I don't share it with you, there may be consequences for you the day that you meet the Lord. Although I'm nervous to write this because I do not wish for you to hate me, I want to exercise my right to be courageous, which is freedom from fear. May God grant you the wisdom to embrace his son, the only way. May the voice of God within you be the source of understanding and option given to you to work in accordance of his word and gain knowledge and principles of the Bible so that you can find salvation when the day comes. Well, that's the letter that I got. And I just want to say that I'm not offended by this person, and just to make sure that she understands, I appreciate her praying for me. We should pray for each other regardless of what our religion is. So yes, I do appreciate it. And if she's listening, if you're listening, and I want you to know that I too pray for you today. I remember when I came to the United States, I was asked by a young woman who helped pick me up at the airport if I was excited to be in America, considering I came from Africa and consequently I couldn't know much. And she just couldn't fathom how I could cope being in America. Certain things she assumes that as an African, I don't know, I wouldn't know. And for one thing, she wanted to know how African people know it's time to get up in the mornings. I suppose the sunlight is not enough, but nonetheless, she wanted to know that. Well, I jokingly told her that usually what happens is while we're on top of the trees, as she assumes we live on trees. Now, I am not kidding you. This is an actual 21st century woman. Top of the tree, we wait to hear Tarzan roar with his chimpanzees and gorillas. Then we know it's time to get up. What was amazing to me was that she didn't see the joke. She believed me. Now, Then the second situation that happened was a young woman who claims that her background is American, Native American, and thus because she's Black, when I called her, when I tried to tell her about Africa, her heritage, she was insulted. She says just because her skin color was from Africa, was dark, doesn't mean she's from Africa. She's a Native American. She found my association of her with Africa quite insulting. So going back to this letter, what we're doing here is to share the other side of the story. Because when you only know one side, you're not fully knowledgeable. You're learning what they want you to learn. And whereas it may suit your condition, maybe serve you in some way, but it's not the full picture. So what we're doing here is to tell you there's another aspect of who you are. There's another aspect of who you are. If I give you $10, if you guys can see this $10, right? If I give you $10 right here, this is $10. This $10 has, let's say the front is you, okay? If I give you $10 and you erase the back of this $10, is this money still good? Is it? I'm asking a question.
No.
You erase it, no.
No. Okay. Now, if you have the front and the back of this $10 bill is valuable, right? You can use it to buy something. But without the back, it's useless. This is who we are. When we remove the cultural aspect of who we are in all its totality, we become a dollar bill or a naira with just one face. In other words, we're not worthy. We're useless. You cannot know just what people tell you about who you are and think you know anything. It's just one aspect of your being. So what I said to this young woman is, believe what you will, but you know what I'm saying?
Of course.
When you own something and you throw it away, you can never get rich.
True that.
The other part of you is part of your wealth. What you know about other people is what you know about them. You make them rich. You empower them. You weaken who you are when you erase who you are. And part of who we are, my Black people, it's not just the fact that we can wear the gele or we can dress in African style. Part of who we are is when we sit down, when we pray, when we call upon our maker, divine mind, we see the image that looks like us.
Through our cultural perspective.
Through our cultural. I'm not here to argue with you what you believe. I'm not concerned about that. What concerns me is that you have erased the other part of who you are, and that you have become useless. Because the reason why we have children is for our children to do what? To carry on.
Yep.
If we erase our ancestors and what they believe in and our Chineke,
we erase ourselves.
We erase ourselves, and there's nothing that we pass on. Your thoughts?
Oh, it's a deep one. It's really deep, but I'm glad you brought it in. Now, before I do anything, I'm going to be a little long-winded here, so please bear with me. I'm just going to read because people need to understand what exactly Chiism is all about. One of the spiritual maxims that we live by is what we call biri ka mbiri, live and let live. And if you adopt this spiritual maxim, you can never go wrong, whether you're a Chiist, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Taoist, Shintoist, Hindu. It doesn't matter what religion you embrace. If you adopt African spiritual concept of live and let live, biri kan biri, you will be spiritually sanctified. This is what Chiism is all about. Secondly, I noticed, not just through this letter, but my interaction, I've been in this game for a lot of years, you know, I've seen it all, is this idea that when you talk about African spirituality, some people seem to construe it as something evil. They have a certain attitude and prejudice about it. But I never hear them talk about Hinduism in the same way. They don't talk about Islam in the same way. They don't talk about Shinto or any other religion that is not African with the same prejudices. Somehow, maybe because we were enslaved or colonized, all of a sudden everybody acts like Africans never contributed anything to civilized behavior. That is wrong. If you're Christian and you have this attitude that African spirituality does not deserve to be on the same level as any other world religion, then you're spiritually damaged. There's no spirituality in anybody. Africans, as well as any other community in the world, we have the right to stand on our own truth. We have the right to worship Chineke in the way we understand best, regardless of what the creed or color is, without bitterness. That's what Bidi Kambiri is all about. This is what we propagate. And anybody, through their prejudices, that don't understand this, any religion, through their prejudices, that does not embrace this maxim, is no religion at all. Preach love, live love. Live love, preach love. That's what we're all about. And for the audience and anybody that is listening to us now, I'm going to read something to you. I told you, I warned you earlier on that I'm going to be a little long-winded, but this is an imperative. So here we go. This is Okukwe Chiism, the Chiis Creed, the Godianism Creed. Here we go. I believe in the Almighty Chineke, creator of heaven and earth, as my source of inspiration, strength, and as my protector. Anybody that believes in the Creator believes what I just read. The line that I just read to you, the sentence that I just read to you, is a general belief of anybody who is spiritual, religious, and believes in the Creator. I believe in the universal brotherhood and sisterhood of all humans under the parenthood of one God. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Do unto others as you will want others to do unto you. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not lie. And in respect and obedience to elders, just laws, and retributive justice. Tell me, do you know of any religion that does not believe what I just read right now? Because if there's a religion that exists that doesn't believe what I just read right now, is no religion at all. I believe that every human being, consciously or unconsciously, looks up to something above himself or herself as their source of inspiration, and that something is the Almighty Creator. That something is Chineke. That something is God. That something is Tamona, Ubangiji, Jiami, Uvuzulele, Nkulukulu, God of many languages. If you're not going along with me right now, then you're not a spiritual or religious person at all. I believe that the Almighty Chineke made the world a paradise of happiness for humanity, but that we have made the world a hell for ourselves by too much quarrels with our fellow human over methods of God worship. The letter that Dibia got is a quarrel over methods of God worship, and whoever wrote that letter already judged Dibia by telling Dibia that this is the only way to salvation, to live your life, and that it is their duty, as they claim, to spiritually civilize you, because prior to them telling you what they're telling you, you are uncivilized, uncultured, a caveman without a conscience, or cavewoman, whatever. I believe that the kingdom of heaven on earth shall come when we learn to quarrel no more with our fellow human over the excuse of differences in methods of God worship. Are you worshiping Chineke, Or are you more interested in how you worship Chineke? Did the chicken come before the egg, or did the egg come before the chicken? I would like to know. Before you can worship Chineke, you have to believe that Chineke exists. And what is this thing about God created everything? What do you mean that God created everything? Of course, Chineke created everything, but you perjure that belief by writing a letter and impugning our credibility and putting your spirituality above ours. Why? If God created everything, then there's a belief that everything that God created has a purpose. So there's a purpose for the black man and woman in this world. There's a purpose for the European in this world. There's a purpose for the Asian, wherever you come from. Even though your environment is responsible for your spiritual adaptations, the European just didn't turn white with blonde hair. He came from somewhere, and through natural process of adaptation, because of the cold in the north, ended up with the features that they have. But we all came from Africa. I believe that religious concepts are inspired by man's desire, or a person's desire, to offer thanks to Chineke, to God, for Chineke's goodness to humanity. That's why we believe in the first place. The air that we breathe, we didn't create it. The food that you eat, you didn't make it. The earth that you stand on, the water that you drink, the fish in the water, you did not create those things. You ascribed it to something greater than yourself, and that something is the Almighty Chineke. That's how religion became automatic in us, to give thanks. That's the general purpose of religion and God worship, to give thanks to Chineke for the life-sustaining forces that we were not responsible for. Because without air to breathe, we die. Without food to eat, we die. Without plants, we die. Without the sky, without rain, without the sun, we die. Without the universe, life doesn't exist. We can get to the question of what's the use of life in the first place anyway? Why are we here? What's the purpose? What's the end game? We don't know, and we'll never know. I believe that there is no sense, and I'm going to stop right here. I believe that there is no sense in quarreling with my fellow human over his or her religious doctrines, belief, or methods of God worship that differ from my own manner of satisfying the common purpose of thanksgiving to the Almighty Chineke. This is what it's all about. We're trying to give thanks for life-sustaining forces. That's what we're trying to do. Whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Buddhist, whether you're Chiist, whether you're Shinto, it doesn't matter what your religion is. If you believe that you did not create life-sustaining forces, religion becomes automatic in you, passed to us through this realization from our ancestors to the present and hopefully into the future. So, to promote peace, the Chiist maxim of Biri can Biri, live and let live, and the idea that Madubuchi Beya, we are like Chineke to our fellow humans because all God's blessings flow through somebody else. Everything else is a miracle. This is what we're all about. That's what Chiism is all about. And hopefully, for those people that are listening to us right now, hopefully you will now have a better understanding and appreciation and not feel frightened because African is standing up for their spiritual beliefs.
He say,
He say,
he say,
he say. Okay.
Well, you know, that's pretty much what it is. You know, everybody has the right to worship the way they understand best. All we're doing here is sharing. And sometimes when we talk about what is being done to us by those who come to our shores, you know, people take offense. But don't take offense, because if you're happy and comfortable with who you are, then be happy and comfortable. You know, then but give us the same right to do and respect to do so. Dr. Monet, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is with all of this is, you know, I agree that really and truly African spirituality, just like the African, has been demonized altogether in our society. And we cannot subscribe to the lies. They're just lies. And we have to understand that for most of us, if you're of African descent, these are the practices of your ancestry. They know nothing about Jesus. Jesus was not something that they knew about. And so you have to ask yourself, if, if I believe that in order to get to God, in order to, get to God and not go to hell, that type of concept, I have to go through Jesus. What about all of the ancestors that was not even aware of Jesus or who Jesus was? Not saying that that path is wrong. That may be a right path for many people, because from what I see is a lot of times I can see in a person how they connect with Chineke, or you may say the divine, and that is very different, unique ways that we come here and really truly connect with with Chineke. And so that could be a lot of the different religions reflect that. If we're talking about Christianity, kind of looking outside of yourself, some people connect that way and most efficiently. Some people connect inwardly, with the divine, which is correlated with Buddhism, with a lot of developing inwardly. Some people may connect in nature, which is a lot of our indigenous religions. And so it's not a wrong way. Don't judge what you should be doing, what we should be doing. I can't say what you should be doing, but what we should be doing is seeking a closer relationship to Chineke. We should eventually get to the maturation level and the connection and the relationship where we can see Chineke in everything we do. Because I've come to the point, and it's been some years now that I came to the point that it doesn't matter who I'm listening. I can be listening to the guru. I can listen to the pastor. I can listen to anyone, religious person, indigenous, whatever religion, wherever I'm at, the bum on the street. Mm-hmm. And Chineke will speak through them to me. I ask for spiritual confirmation. I'll ask a question literally. Mm-hmm. Can you give me verbal confirmation? That may be through a guru. That may be through, like I said, the homeless person on the street. That may be through whoever it may be, even the animals. Even the animals give us messages. And so the question should be, can I see Chineke? Can I connect to Chineke anywhere I am and in any situation? Because if you're a Christian, it says in that Bible, in that word, that you should be able to see Christ. It's the Christ. A lot of people don't understand when you're talking about Christ consciousness. You should be able to see Christ anywhere. There should not be, if you say that you're saved, you should not fear any type of religion, even if you have an opinion about it or say, well, this may appear evil to me or whatever. It does not matter, because if you say within your religion and you're going by that, there should be no fear anywhere. You should be able to see Christ in everything that you do. And so we can't judge, because Chineke is taking us, is communicating with us. We have different spiritual paths, and we are on different levels of spiritual maturation. And so what we do, our path, the reason why we're here, why are we existing here, our assignment of what we're supposed to do may line up with the way that we, our spirituality. The spirituality that we choose, and it may not, and it may change. That spirituality may change over the years, It's just like for me, I grew up in Christianity, but it eventually changed because I started having so many spiritual experiences that was outside of Christianity that could not be explained in Christianity. Even when I was in Christianity, because that's all I knew at the moment, I was having those visions of my past life. I was having visions of myself as being someone else. And that continued throughout my life. But that wasn't explained in Christianity. So what do I do? I mean, how can you explain that? I can't go to the pastor and ask him, well, I keep seeing myself as this person. I keep having these memories. I keep having all of these memories of me being someone else. They don't understand that. They may not understand that. But the journey where Chineke is taking me did not line up with that spiritual the spiritual path I began in. But then it transitioned me. I eventually transitioned out into something different because it didn't fit where Chineke was taking me. So it's okay if we shift, if we transition, as long as we're following Chineke. And if it's not Chineke, God, however you might, even at Jesus, whatever it is that you see as the divine, that's what really matters.
That's right. That's right.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
I love it.
You know, when I was a child, our father used to take us to the Basionha. And initially, when we started, it was just the family. It was just the family. And the Sunday was the day that Dad chose to speak to his children. Mom, Dad, and all us kids will go, and our father will stand there and preach to us.
Yeah.
Other families started to come to listen, because you see, my father felt it was his responsibility to teach us. He refused to have anyone else teach us something that's completely foreign to us. Do you remember the song that he made all of us learn how to sing? And that was in addition to the creed. I will worship God of nature.
Yeah.
I will worship the God of nature. I will never believe in trees, sun, moon, and stars, and seasons of the year. Me clearly what God is.
Yeah, I remember that.
I will worship. He told us that. I want you to worship the creator of nature.
Yes.
Worship all the good in nature. That is what your ancestors believed in. Worship all that is good in nature. Don't listen to people's doctrines. The sun, the moon, and the stars. If you want to know Chineke, they tell you what Chineke is. Because all those things give life. All those things sustain life. So respect and honor them. Now that we're having climate change, isn't it important now that we understand the importance of honoring nature? We're abusing it and nature is fighting back.
Yes.
He says nature is the same all over the world.
Yep.
Life, growth, and death for
Yes.
man, beasts, and plants. Beasts and the plants never ate Adam's fruit. Their death follows nature's plan. He stood there. He stood there with mom, teaching us kids that.
Yep.
They didn't teach us to turn the other cheek while we're slapped.
Nope.
They didn't teach us that silence is the best answer to curiosity.
Nope.
They didn't teach us that. They said, from me to Chineke, there's no distance. There's no room for bishops and priests. Everyone must alone die his own death. Death shows no preference at all.
He said, true.
This is what this man every Sunday.
Spiritual common sense.
I'm telling you, Dad would say that. He said, how come your life growth and your death. What God kept you until missions came here. God of your race is the God of your life. No one can tell you what Chineke is.
He said,
Us little children, we're lined up and we're listening to this. From now onwards, no one should deceive you. This world was made by Chineke, not by man. The nature can show you everything Chineke is in hills, land, vales, and dales. Ige, am I lying? We sat there every Sunday. This is the kind of thing they put in our minds. My dad was doing what the ancestors did.
Yeah.
Underneath the big Iroko tree. To remind us in our spiritual way that right where we are, God is. Chineke is. Right where we are.
He said.
We shouldn't be afraid. Like I told my daughter, you have thousands of ancestors behind you. We shouldn't be afraid of who we are. We shouldn't be afraid to express who we are. This is how you live the ancestral legacy, by teaching the children that what your ancestors did was good. Just as good as everyone else. I was watching very quickly a show that talked about in Mississippi, in the South, where they didn't let Black people, they didn't bury Black people in certain burial grounds, right? They found, just pretty much like they did in South Africa, they found the worst areas for our families to be buried, for Black people to bury their dead. But then the Black people took it a step further then. It's not just about burying our people. It's about remembering and honoring them as our ancestors.
He said.
Yes.
So they said they took that land that was given to them. They made it a holy place. And when somebody died, the singing and the exaltation, all of that, to say, man, you can't tell us the value of our people. It's not about money. It's about who they were as human beings.
Yes.
So we may not bury them in your courtyard, but we bury them with dignity. We honor them and we remember them. We dance, we put flowers. And the places that the African people were buried became tourist attraction because of how they were preserved, because of how the people preserve their dead. See, if you don't do that, if you don't honor your own, nobody else will. When somebody tells you you're not good enough and you buy into that, then you're not going to be good enough. Huh? You're not going to be good enough. You create your own reality. As a community, I have no problem with people being whatever they want to be. I just want the same right to be who I am, to tell my children, you are good enough. Have no fear, because the same God that created everybody else made you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you talk about we're made in the image of Chineke, I see Chineke as looks like me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If you see Chineke as somebody with blue eyes and blonde hair, cool. If that's the image of you as a white person that you see, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But the reason why, unfortunately, many of us feel inferior is because we've accepted that there's no way that the Creator can look like me. So when this woman wrote this to me, I don't know what she thought she was doing, in the sense, is she trying to break me? Is she trying to make me abandon the power of my ancestors and do what exactly?
I have no clue, man.
You know what I'm saying? So back in her little mind, well, let me not use that expression because it's very real to her. So please forgive me for using that. But in her mind, she really believes that this is the only way. Her way is the only way. No, my way is not the only way. And that's why Chiism is the OTRA, Organization of Traditional Religions. That means all religions that believe, all right, in Chineke, in their way. They all believe in Chineke.
They're all part of the family.
They're all part of the family. We don't say, I can say Ashe, amen.
Yep.
He said, it don't matter to me. It's just, those are just words. But I can tell you there are some African people that will not say he said.
I think it's a devil.
That's the devil's tongue. They will not say it. It has to only be amen. And everything has to end. They can do African things. They can say African things. They can do whatever it is that's African, but they must end it in the name of Jesus. And that's cool. That's cool if that's what you choose to do. But the fact that I choose not to do that, that doesn't mean I'm going to hell. First of all, hell is your creation. It's in your mind. I didn't create hell, so I'm not afraid of hell. The only hell that I know is the one that I put myself right here as I'm living, that I can witness. I don't believe in anything I can't see. If you know what I mean. I'm not afraid of something I can't see and then spend the rest of my living moments worrying about that. That hell is what I create here. That heaven is what I create here. So I'm not going to wait to die to find out what hell looks like and what heaven looks like. What I do with my life, how I treat my fellow human beings, is either going to create that hell or heaven for me.
True.
If I do something good for Dr. Simone, the next day, if she has it, she will say, Dr. Simone did this for me. I'm going to do for her, to reciprocate. But if I treat you bad, if I do something so bad to you that you're angry, you know that hell we're talking about? You're going to make sure I see it. Not when I die. You're going to make sure I see it right here. Payback.
Yeah.
Now, if I say this to you, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up, what is that? What is that? Who was saying that?
Trump. Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Boomerang. Be careful.
Yeah.
Be careful what you do, what you say about others, because it does come back.
What
All
do
right.
you say? What do you say? That's so beautiful.
But it has really, it's been exciting and interesting. So
that is so beautiful. This show right now is off the chain, man. I'm loving my ladies right now. I mean, just nothing but love. You guys have been absolutely marvelous. Damn, I sound like a movie star. Anyway, be careful who you stepping on your way up, because you might be meeting them on your way down. Anyway, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Truth. Yeah, we always talk about that. Tell the truth that it set you free. Really? Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise in the movie. You can't handle the truth. Well, here's the truth. All cultures understand the importance of cultural promotion. That's why they're great. That's how they could trace their greatness through their journey through history, their contributions to civilized behavior. Their ancestors pass it on to the next generation, and the generation, they beat their chest. This is who I am. This is what we've done. Yeah, we're in Black Africa. Well, go ahead, beat your chest. I'm waiting. Beat your chest and tell me what you've contributed to civilized behavior. You don't know because you've been miseducated by people that preach exclusive truth. My way or the highway. Religious imperialism. It's been going on for a long time, and I'm not going to get into the history of it and all that. But that letter you got, okay, Dibia, that's about religious imperialism. Putting you on notice and letting you know that you're wrong, they're right. Exclusive truth. Only through blah, blah, blah can you see salvation or get to God. Mm-hmm. Really. I'll be a little long-winded, but it's a song, and I'm going to make it as short as I can. And you could join me, okay, Dibia, if you feel like it. To our people out here, I want you to listen. And this is because of the letter that okay, Dibia got. O ye men of one nation, O ye men of one race, delving in segregation, the one God you all preach. You divide, hating others through your creed is on, though your creed is on love. What a sin, oh brothers, disappointing you prove. What are denominations? But man's invention.
My voice is bad.
God is only one parent. Let's pray together. Little children innocent can conceive no difference, even though for one moment in your themes of reverence. But each one is presented with a creed of some kind when he has consented. He can't harmony find. Let us consider nature in her full constancy. We may have pain or rapture we could never foresee. She remains same for ages, wherever we may feel. Nature shows same pages, whether of woe or will. Men and women are humans, everyone waits for death. For some men are but careless, beholding native faith. Yes, some men seeking profit, fabricate some doctrine, leading men into pit. Out of every 10:9, brethren, let's have one worship. If Chineke is one, let us join in fellowship, or hate let us have none. This and that church is better, this and that doctrine right. No one can be dearer in the great nature sight. What are denominations but man's inventions? God is only one parent. Let's pray together. Chiism and any other non-Abrahamic religion,
Yes.
believe the song that I just sang to you.
Mm.
Only Abrahamic religions seek to divide, seek to tell you that their way is right and your way is wrong. They go against nature's call. My history and my ancestry does not belong to the Arab.
Yes.
I'm not Arabic. I did not, my ancestors did not contribute anything to the Arabian civilization. And the Arabs did not contribute anything to my civilization in sub-Saharan Africa.
Yes.
The journey of life started in Africa, for human life, started in Africa 270,000 years ago,
Yes.
and spread all over the world.
Said,
every religious thought, every race out there, every human community is a descendant of the African. And so, if you ask me what my contributions to civilized behavior is, I will beat my chest as an African and say, I am your ancestor.
Yes.
He said, Dr. Monet.
Yes. That was excellent. That was an excellent selection, and you're absolutely right, Uncle Dibia Yudi. You know, we have to learn, you know, and relearn. I mean, it's been so ingrained in us. The African people have been, you know, our minds have really been taken over for all of these years, and it's about, you know, getting out of that conditioning and being able to accept more than just what it is that we learned as far as spirituality, which is a lot of it is based in fear. Because I know for me, for instance, you know, when I was in Christianity, I felt a lot of fear. It was, okay, is this, the devil is out there, the demon's going to get me. I mean, there was a constant fear of, of that lower energies that would come against me. And when I was free of that, I felt so liberated, because I was no longer holding that fear, because a lot of people are holding on to whatever beliefs that they have, that they've grown up with or have been conditioned with, and they're holding on to it because of the fear. But we have to educate ourselves. That is so important, because even the concept of a devil, the concept of a hell is very new. It's a new age concept. We have to understand that. And we have to go back to who we were, who our ancestors were, and not be ashamed of that. If we're comfortable with the religions and things like that we are practicing now, it's nothing wrong with that. But I feel in order for us as African people to grow as a people, we also have to understand the practices of our African ancestors. I feel that is going to really, truly liberate our minds. Is that we are able to understand how our ancestors practice. And not only that, but connecting to our ancestors and not feeling like something is wrong with connecting with our ancestors. We have just totally, as a community, for most of us, have disowned our ancestors. Many of us are are Protestants. So a lot of Protestants do not believe in so-called talking to the dead. They don't believe in connecting with your ancestors. But there's a lot of in other forms of Christianity, in Catholicism, they do. They believe that you connect with your ancestors. But for many of us as African people, we have been totally removed from that practice, which has made us, it has weakened us. In my opinion, it has weakened us. Our power is in our ancestors. Our power is in Chineke, but we also have to know our power is in our ancestors. Our ancestors can do so much for us. And so we have to get back connected with that so that we are able to grow as a people. And I believe that our oppressor understands that too. Our oppressor understands that if we're disconnected from our culture, that we will be weakened as a people. If we're disconnected, or we feel that the practices of our ancestors were evil, and we're going in their direction, in the way that they practice, and we have no strength. There is strength in spirituality. There is strength in our spirituality and who we are as a people. If you look, I worked at a university at one time, and you would see on the desk of all of the Indian people from India, they would have their gods or their deities right there on their desk. But that is their power. That is their power. That represents them. It didn't matter how high they got. They made sure to give reference to whatever deity or to whatever way that they see Chineke. And we have to get back to that. We have to. And we have to stop demonizing each other. It's really demonizing each other. We're hurting each other, instead of coming together and really embracing our culture, fully embracing, just like Your Excellency Dibia, I was just saying, not just wearing the African attire to say, oh, I'm connected with Africa by wearing the African attire, but also connecting fully with the ways of our ancestors, knowing the gods of our ancestors, knowing the way that they practice, connecting to nature. Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Have your practices, because here in America, like if you go to Louisiana, there's a lot of people, because of safety back in the day, you know, you could be killed for practicing African spirituality or your spirituality, whatever that may be. So it was hidden through, they practiced Christianity. There were Christians during the day, but at night, they're practicing spirituality. And I even see it from the outside looking in. My ancestors, some of the things that they did that I was not aware of at that time, that they were practicing spirituality. So let's get out of the dark with this and be who we are.
That's
if
right.
Christianity and Islam is a part of our lineage, which is a part of mine, and I respect all of my family members or those who passed that were in, you know, that were Christians, but I also know the power and I know the importance of connecting and knowing my African side.
That's right.
Practicing my African side. So we have to get back to that.
That's the blessing. And the thing, thank you so much. Thank you. And you think the thing is that people need to understand, which is, we're not saying our way or the highway. No. What we continue to say is that your way is okay. It's okay. Be proud of who you are. We're proud of who we are. At least that's what we're trying to get people to understand, that there's no shame in our game, so to speak. There's no shame in being who we are. It used to be a time that you have to understand. Thank you, Chineke, for the internet. Because there was a time that you can't even say that you're not a Christian or you're not a Muslim, and all people attack you. But now people understand. Many people do understand. There are different paths.
Yes.
There's no one way. If you're a mother or a father and your child wants something from you, one of the children may come through the kitchen. The other one may come from upstairs and downstairs to come meet you. The important thing is they come to you. It doesn't matter how they get there. The person coming from the kitchen is because he's in the kitchen, and the kitchen door will lead him to you. The person is upstairs. Coming downstairs will lead them to you. So if I'm in Africa and I want to come to Chineke through my ancestors, that's okay. If you want to come through a book that was written by somebody and you're comfortable with that, that's cool. But don't say that your way is the only way. Don't try to make me what I'm not. Don't tell me that who I am is wrong. Because you see, there's a video on TikTok. It's trending. Little girl, her mother is black. Her father is white. She's mixed race. She went into her mother's makeup and got the brown makeup and put it all over herself. The mother saw her and said, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm trying to be beautiful." She didn't believe that she was beautiful the way she was. Who's beautiful to her was her mom.
Yes.
She wanted to be like her mom. Most girls want to be like their mothers. If you're a good mom, of course. Yes. You see, and some people took offense to it. What are you offended? The only God any child knows, the first God is mom.
Yes.
That's the first God. You can preach to a child about God and all that stuff. That's the God looking. The God is the one that feeds me, bathes me, hugs me, sings to me, read books. Mom and dad are gods.
Yes.
Those are the gods they know, until they start buying into the other description of God. But initially, so to this little child, some people were saying, "Oh, you should, I think about blackface." No. She's 4 years old. She's trying to be like mom. Mom to her was beautiful brown.
Yes.
She didn't have any issues with the dark skin of her mother. To her, the most beautiful person in the world is her mom. So I want to look like my mom. But you have people on TikTok who took offense to it. You're teaching her blackface. They said, no. You see, because some of us do not value who we are.
Yes.
So to see somebody wanting to be like us, it's like, oh my goodness. That's weird. To see somebody who wants to say Chineke, Olodumare, Tamona, Jinyami, Katonda, Nyemi, Nkosi, Uvuzilele, Ukulunkulu. Anybody who wants to say that, oh my God, that's voodoo. And they don't even know what voodoo is.
No idea.
The only thing you appreciate is if I say Allah or I say Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that I find very curious when I see people in Nigeria speaking of us coming together, they talk about the Christians and the Muslims must come together. Wait a minute.
What about us?
What about the rest of us?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? You've been conditioned that those are the worthy,
The legitimate.
So they're the ones that have to come together. The rest of you join us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't matter. So that is what this sister is trying to say to me. If I don't believe in what everyone else has been taught, then I'm going to, you know where I'm going. She's trying to save my life. So, but I just want to thank her, though. I'm sure in her mind, she meant no disrespect. In her mind, she thinks she was doing the right thing. Because so it's important for us to understand where the sister is. She has all her life been taught that that's what's right. Anything else is not. Her name is English. She has an English name. She has her family name is African, but her own name is English. And what she embraces has to be English.
Yes.
The Bible, Jesus, all of that. She meant well.
Well, she's having
she's
internet issue, but I'm just going to kind of parrot
okay.
up what she's saying. She may have meant well in her mind that she's faithfully going along with the dictates of her religion, because in Christianism, for the most part, they want you to save somebody's soul. Abrahamic religion just seems to be involved in soul saving. The Muslims want to save your soul and bring you to Islam, because if you're not with Islam, then you're an infidel. So you've been condemned, and infidels deserve punishment, whether on earth here or the afterlife. Either way, same thing with Christianism. It's infinite. Christ is the only way, and if you don't go through Jesus Christ, then all hell breaks loose for you, both in this world and the afterlife. You go to hell and all that. This is religious bigotry.
Yes.
Imperialism. It's understandable to me from a political perspective, not from a spiritual perspective, because politically, nations want to dominate one another. And one of the instruments that is used to dominate another people is stripping them of their culture and supplanting it with yours, right?
Yes.
All human systems are products of religion. From your economic system, political system, social, cultural system, they're all products of religion. It is through religious dictates and laws that civic laws came about. Thou shalt not kill. It's not a Christian thing, because there's no culture in the world that says thou shalt kill.
Mm-hmm.
Muslims don't say it, Christians don't say it, Shiites don't say it, Buddhists don't say it. Nobody says thou shalt kill. It's a spiritual maxim or behavior that is abhorred by every spiritual human. Thou shalt not lie. Nobody says thou shalt lie. Christians don't say it. Buddhists don't say it. Chiites don't say it. Godians don't say it. Buddhists, nobody says that. You know, thou shalt not lie. Everybody that is spiritual and wants to coexist peacefully with their fellow human being knows that it's not okay to lie. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Nobody's, I don't know of any culture that said, oh, it's okay for you to commit adultery. No, it's not. It may be acceptable in some cultures, like in Vikings, just like in ancient Africa and in some African communities till today. Europeans, Vikings are Europeans, don't forget that. And they have more than one wife, particularly the kings did that. Hold on a second. This is okay, Dibia. I think she's having issues. So hold on a second. Hello, okay, Dibia. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Bye. Sorry, folks. That's okay, Dibia. Having a internet issue. Her computer just suddenly shut off. And so she's rebooting it and she's trying to get back on the show. So hopefully she'll be able to do that. But like I was saying, this is religious imperialism. I think one of the things that has happened to us as a people is this lack of appreciation for our religion, our culture, our spirituality, and things that are called African. Like you had mentioned earlier on, Dibia Simona, you identified as an African, not just because of the hue of your skin, but because of your culture, your traditions, your spirituality. For if I claim to be Italian, I'm not claiming that I'm Italian just because I was born in Italy or that my parents are of Italian descent, but it's also because I have embraced the culture and traditions and spirituality and things that are Italian. If I'm Indian, for the most part, I have an appreciation of Hinduism, Indian culture. Now, I may be a Christian, but Indian by birth or as far as my skin tone and ancestry is concerned, it's all well and good. But I can't really consider myself part of the Indian community without bringing myself to, I appreciate Hindu traditions. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm telling you, they got a couple of Hindu temples over here that are just off the chain. Wow. Beautiful, gigantic buildings where the Indians that live in Atlanta that are doctors, engineers, computer scientists, and what have you, they come there at a certain time of the day or certain days of the week, and they come in there and they appreciate, they worship their gods, they share things that they have in common, those things that, brings them together as people of Indian descent. That appreciation, it is their culture that allows them the appreciation of who they are, gives them pride, their contributions to civilized behavior, so on and so forth. For us in the African community right now, it is very difficult for us to come and talk about those things that we've contributed based on the idea that we were enslaved. We were never slaves, we were enslaved. Some of the best minds in Africa were taken from Africa and brought to the Indies over here, the transatlantic slave trade. Then colonization in Africa itself made sure that every semblance of civilization in Africa was destroyed. In Igbo land, in Abreba, there's something called Nsude pyramids. Few people knew that they had a city in Abreba, pyramids that were about 20 feet high, wow. A whole city of pyramids, and people lived in it. Nobody talks about that. You have to go to the internet to see it. And the actual pictures were taken by a British guy called G.I. Jones. Those pictures were taken in 1931 before all those pyramids were bulldozed. Nobody talks about our writing system. People talk about the Arabic writing system. People talk about, the Chinese writing system and all that. In Africa, there are two prominent ones, and I'm sure there are a whole host of them. But the Akan of Ghana has something called Adinkra writing system. Remember, writing systems are just symbols that you learn that represent certain intonations, connotations, not connotations, but, phrases and stuff like that. In Igbo land, the Cameroons, Ibibio, the Calabar, is something called Nsibidi. And I've already done the research and put them all together, so we got some serious things coming with Chiism University and so on and so forth. So I just think it's imperative that we try to teach our people what we've contributed to civilized behavior so that we don't see ourselves as inferior to anybody else, because it's important that if you're Chinese and they ask you what have Chinese people contributed, you could talk about Kung Fu, Chinese writing, the telescope or whatever. So I think that it's really imperative that we try to do the same through platforms like this, so on and so forth. What do you say about that, Dr. Simona?
I totally agree, because even with you saying with the writing systems, I heard that we have writing systems, but I heard even more that we didn't. Growing up, they always said that Africans it was a verbal tradition. Nothing was written or anything like that. They never say that we had any of those things. So it's so important that we learn about ourselves and who we are and what we contribute. The pyramids, I never heard of the pyramids in Igbo land. Who teaches about that? But that was destroyed. Those things were destroyed so that we can, so that narrative, those lies that, of who we are and what our oppressors, says that we are, is just not recognized.
Yeah.
Just destroying our culture. Even with what's going on in Africa now, of you're destroying the spiritual artifacts. You're destroying all of these things, so that our future generations don't know who they really are, because the Islam or Christianity is not going to tell us who we are as African people, because that was not a part of our original traditions. It wasn't part of our original spirituality, and we're not written into that. So it's so important. And I see Uncle Dibia Yudi showing the writing, which is absolutely beautiful. We have to learn, and I encourage people to join Chiism University, because this is so important. This should not be lost. These are things that we should be teaching our children. Everyone should know this information, because they're not teaching it. Our oppressor is not teaching those things. They're not.
And so it's up to us to try to do something with it and put it out there. There's no copyright issue when it comes to language, right? So it is important that we put it out there through efforts like Chiism University, this program. We talk about it. Yes, we had a lot of things going on. We have heroes in Africa that were not Muslim, were not Christian, but were indigenous Africans that believed in our ancestral, spirits, history. All religions have ancestral reverence, like I mentioned earlier on. So it's really important that we stop looking at the idea of ancestors as something that is evil. We embrace ancestors from other cultures, but don't want to embrace our own ancestors. There is nothing evil about ancestral reverence. It's part of our communal journey. It is our footprint. It is about where we've been and where we're going. All cultures extol their ancestors, except for those Africans whose minds have been corrupted by Abrahamic religious doctrines.
Yes.
Your duty is not to win anybody's soul for Christ or for Muhammad. Your spiritual journey is to win souls.
Yes.
For Chineke.
Yes.
For God. That's all it's all about.
Yes.
Not about exclusive truth, and not about trying to, be beholden to religious doctrines that have nothing to do with your history and with who you are. I don't have control over. Okay, there she is.
Okay, here I am. So sorry. I don't know what's going on in our area, but I was listening to you guys. You were doing so well. You did great. Thank you so much for filling in. Well, it's about time for us to go, and I want to thank all of you who joined us. Thank you, Dr. Monet. Thank you, Dibia Dibia Chodeze could not join us today because he said he had a duty to support what his wife was doing today.
Oh, okay. Hey, so understandable. We got that.
But I just want to thank Akachi Azubike for all the wonderful contributions that she made here. And I'd like to thank Ukuna Gochukwu as well, and akimebro for all his hard work. He's such a wonderful, wonderful help to us. And I want to thank Zainab Ahmed, who joined us as well. I want to thank Madia Peabody Onyoha, who joined us. There's several people who joined us from
there's quite a few people. You can't mention them all. I wouldn't imagine.
Of course, it's acting up again, so I better say goodbye right now that I can. So
okay.
Thank you all. Thank you. I love you so much. I look forward to the next part of ancestral spiritual healing. The third part of it is going to be next. You don't want to miss it. That's next week, and it should be another very, very interesting one. Okay. Thank you, everyone. May God bless you and bless me. I'm going to call it a day.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
That was powerful.
Yes.
I think this is one of our better shows, man. This was really good. Dr. Simona, I don't know what to tell you. But
yeah, this is really good.
It was good. And okay, Dibia,
are we still on there?
No, I think our show is over with.
Because the time is still going, and then Auntie is still.
Yeah, we're just gonna log off.
Yeah, this was really, really good.
It was. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna exit.
Okay.
The show is over with, and if people are listening, then it means we'll continue talking and all that stuff. And I think it's over with. So goodbye, everybody.
Okay. See you later, Uncle.
See you next Sunday. Okay.
Yeah. See you next Sunday. Bye-bye.